Resistance versus resilience, times now and ahead with hope. I think with hope is the most important thing that we all have to remember now. I wonder if we have a choice. Perhaps the only one is to strengthen ourselves physically and emotionally. Salutations to the Almighty and greetings to a very wonderful audience of educators. At the outset, I wish to place my deepest sense of gratitude to the chairperson, Hindustan Group of Institutions, Dr. Elizabeth Verghese, Director and CEO, Dr. Anand Jacob Verghese, Director, KCG College of Technology, Dr. Annie Jacob, Principal, Dr. Devasundari, and Dean Student Affairs, Dr. Anita Manuel, for bringing us together in this very thought-provoking session, Resistance versus Resilience. And it is now time for us to think ahead. After all, the divine has blessed the human will with that strange strength to tide over and win. These are trying times. We've been hearing it very often, and we are bracing ourselves to give our best to our children. The frontline workers are fighting against the pandemic while we are getting ourselves ready to get our children ready for the next generation. We cannot disappoint them at any time. In the process, self care plays a very important role. As the theme explains, the discussion shall aim at giving insights from the perspectives of illustrious minds, that of an educationalist, a psychologist, and an expert from the field of technology. The educationists should help us maneuver the way ahead as we move on to the second year of virtual education at schools. The efforts needed to make the classes better and more interesting without permitting redundancy. We are dealing with the emotional health of children, but don't you think it's very pertinent and important that we address the same for our teachers and principals too? And this is where the inputs from the psychologists matters. There has been much research and all of us have risen to the need for better tools to learn and teach on the virtual mode. An expert is needed to help us understand what is best for the student community without letting the digital fatigue set in and help us choose from the innumerable choices. Giving the very brief about what the panel discussion is all going to be about, allow me to please introduce the eminent speakers for today. We have with us Dr. Bhavani Shankar, a very eminent educationist. He is the head of school Lalaji Memorial Omega International School, Chennai, which is affiliated to CBSE, CIE, IBDP, NIOS, and DLS affiliated school. In short, to understand him of his very rich profile, of his academic achievements to begin with, he is the recipient of BARD USDA Postdoctoral Research Associateship Award from the US and Israel government organizations. He's the recipient of Research Associateship Award CSIR Government of India for postdoctoral research, the Young Scientist Award for Best Oral Presentation at All India Symposium on Invertebrate Reproduction, the recipient of Senior Research Fellowship from the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, the recipient of Research Fellowship, Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, and he has been a part of immense number of professional conferences and research publications. And the little that I know of him, of his rich profile, as I said before, over the last 19 years, Sir has been integrating policies of various education boards, CBSE, CIE, IB, and NIOS, and inclusive education models with institutional demands. He has been leading a group of instructional leaders to implement the same across educational verticals. The key functional roles that he has focused on are designing, directing, mentoring, sharing, and supporting various pedagogical and andragogical practices like instructional plans, delivery, assessments, and reporting. He has been an active advocate of peer learning through student groups and has promoted this as a strategy at school, facilitating the learning through various student-led projects, and has been hugely rewarding as student leaders continue to contribute their might through UN Student Leadership Conferences on Development, the Commonwealth Youth Council, TED Club, the Interact Club, and various other student bodies to better global understanding and citizenship. To quote him, he says, "In my capacity as a school leader, I have endeavored to harmonize realistic, achievable with aspirations, demands and needs of learners, workforce, community and management, counseling and educating adolescents on careers, task-specific skilling, sexuality, identity and orientation, behavior, risk, relationship and adjustment issues, which is a responsibility very close to my heart. Over the last 19 years as a school head, my greatest learning has been acknowledging and accommodating the constancy of changes and understanding when to let go, unquote. This is Dr. Bhavani Shankar Subramaniam for you, and we are very, very happy to have you over here, sir. Thank you very much and welcome to you.
Thank you, Arthi. It's an honor.
I wish to begin the session today with my question to Dr. Bhavani Shankar. Sir, it's been a year of virtual learning. When we began the first year, it was all excitement, something new, something which we were not aware of, that education can happen online too, from the comforts of our homes, that we could see the world from holding it in the palm of our hands. By plugging in our earphones, you could hear what's happening around the world. We could engage children on a completely digital mode. Learning has transformed it in new meaning altogether. But now, it is the second year. There is, there could be a sense of redundancy setting in, monotony setting in. What is the way ahead for us principals and educators? We need your thoughts on this, please.
So it's an interesting start. Bharti, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's a very interesting start. This particular question you said sort of has my mind rolling to pre-COVID days. It's not that the technology was not available at any point in time. So we knew online education was already in vogue, and people were using it at different levels, say in K to 12 education, as well as the tertiary education landscape. So it's not that it was new. However, we had a mindset closing on to the routines that we were engaged in, quite comfortable in that space, and we're very happy to do what we continue to do forever. So these changes, although were happening, it was more of a resistance to this particular change that prompted us to continue as we did in the pre-COVID days. So with marginal increments, we felt very happy that we have embraced technology. So suddenly, in the month of March 2020, so we had to put a stop to everything and then quickly latch on to what technology was offering to us. And to give the credit to the teachers and families, it did not take long for them to so get used to this particular mode of teaching and learning. So when we say that we are extremely myopic and we were only harping about the cognitive demands of the child. So we never took a look back and then said that, sorry guys, it's just not about math, science, and languages. It's about see how the social and emotional aspects of development are significantly more important in this particular equation. So schools are not spaces to learn maths and science. I'm sorry if so that's the reason all of us believe that the children go to school. It's a terrible mistake. So it's not maths and science. Maths, science, and language happens at school because of the other say developmental connects, which are more to deal with the psychosocial and the physical and the motor elements of development. So all of us know and are acutely aware that the child's development is best done when the child engages with his peers, when the child moves, when the child actively engages in the freedom of his space. So all of that has not happened over the last 1 year. So it's not because the parents don't want it, it's not because the teachers don't want it, it's simply because of what the realities were around them. And to thank the media, they inflated this fear to a large extent, say asking everybody to stay fixed at home and to limit whatever activities they do. So to top it all, say there were these over anxious parents who already said that, guys, we need to limit the screen time to the children to 30 minutes a day or 40 minutes a day and so on and so forth. So the data that the WHO and the UNESCO provides in the pre-COVID days, 9.5 to 12 hours of the day is spent in front of some kind of a screen. It's not that the children are gadget free or were gadget free. So we limited see whatever we could do in this particular time. So we were harping about see us being a part of the problem and not being a part of the solution. And as you pointed out, say year two, when all of this seems to be rolling back again for one full year, so we are now fatigued because of the COVID syndrome. So whatever COVID syndrome did for one full year, so it is likely to repeat itself in year two, and with see a greater impact, and therefore we feel a lot more lost. See, I'm saying that see, when we are so stuck up in trying to realize the small achievables for the day, so we are troubled, we grieve, we have lost jobs. So we have a 4-hour window to get groceries and other things. We can't travel from one place to another. When all of this is happening with every single household, so the world is creating history for us. So it has created history I'm just borrowing the sentiments of Harari. So he says that, so when you're up to doing small things, so great big things are happening behind you and the world is creating history. It has conspired to create history for which we feel we are not a part of. However, we are forced to play a part in the consequences that the history has left behind. So that's what all of us are doing now. The only way forward for all of us is to build resilience and to understand that every step, so we can actually bounce back. So it is not about fear. It is not about huge worries. It's about love, care, empathy, acceptance, forbearance, tolerance, and all that can come together and build this resilience forward. See, for teachers and principals, I'm saying so. I mean, it's so very boring without challenges. So it's a God-given opportunity that you're faced with so many challenges ahead. And I'm certain all the teachers and principals have suddenly become great innovators and brilliant minds. So they have thought forward so many new ideas. All my friends, including Bharti, teaches me every single day about new tricks up the sleeve. And all of us are a large community. We are one big family. We are one big family of people. So we are connected. All our lives are connected. So let us use this opportunity well. So let us understand the reality of what is happening around. And together, I'm certain that we will be well placed to sort of accept and assimilate this change. This change acceptance is what needs to be at the top. And the best thing that all of us can do is to reflect on what we did wrong so that we can make it right. So whatever we make it right, we are never going to be concerned. We'll continue to make it right. But whatever we did wrong, so let's all reflect on that and collectively come up with solutions. So I'll build on it a little bit more. This is the start of all that I had.
Thank you, sir. So sharing of resources, getting connected, and then making a difference in the lives of our children. That's what we aim at. And as the DGPSA rightly mentioned in his talk when he was about lifting leaders, he said, change comes with not a killer instinct, but with a skiller instinct. And that's exactly what comes to my mind now. Bhavani Shankar sir, I have a question for you now. Now, as we said, learning has to be fun, has to be adventurous. But what about those standards that we have to meet? The children, when they talk about their grades, their achievements, and the norms that we are going by, that, we need to have first graders and A graders and the top scorers and all that. Where do we lose us? Where do we find ourselves in this chaos that we are looking at? I mean, we have certain set standards, right? That our child has to meet up to that. How do we combat that? So unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute. Bharti, I would like to build this around what Arthi and Karthik said, because the earlier question that you said was also about information overload and information culling. And when Karthik actually did the survey, I could notice two things. See, one is that there was not much of talk about differentiation and the purpose for teachers to look at differentiation in the class. So in all of that, I did not get the word differentiation out. And the second time, what would you like to change? I did not get the word unlearning out. So these are two things which prompted me to also ask these teachers about, say, if I have so much in my baggage, and this is what I want to convey to the students inside of the class, I've lost again. So the question that you have posed, let me ask you to do it again so that I can recompose the answer. So Bharti, I don't want to lose out on your question. Please let me ask you to repeat that question.
My question here is, sir, we have so many set standards to meet, right? I mean, there are a whole lot of parents amongst us still, there are teachers amongst us still who want the children to be of a certain grade, top scorers, top learners, and all that. How do we meet those? And what about the social connect with the child is missing in these times? How do I get that?
Okay, see, so there are two things. Number one is that what are these set standards or references? These, what are they built upon? So we are actually moving into a different line of discussion because we know, see, with all that happened, what was the fallout of the PISA. So we ranked the 72nd upon 74 nations that took it, and the government is trying seriously hard to spike it with Kendriya Vidyalayas and say Haryana and the NCR region now to demonstrate that India is doing a lot better. I'm really, really sorry. This talks about the overall capacity. So when a child graduates from the school into a college, what do you hope for the child to have as skill sets? Forget about maths and science. So does he have the skill set to be a responsible adolescent? So who is emerging to be a young adult and getting there with the right kind of skill sets? So the grades are important. We have always overvalued the grades and marks. And sadly, we will continue to overvalue grades and marks. So there is no escape from this game. So the overall Indian mindset, I'm sorry, I'm making a sweeping statement because this is what we want. We want the children to ace IIT, ace the NTAs, get into IITs and medical colleges or the best engineering and the professional colleges. So this has been a mindset. So the challenges that we had in about 2010 over a period of time, thanks to educationists like you, thanks to psychologists and concerned people. So there is a mindset shift. So we are not talking about grades and marks, we're talking about capability. So now, see, the universities are recruiting students who demonstrate several other capabilities and skill sets. So, which means that yes, so I have a B plus as a grade, but then I demonstrate phenomenal leadership skills. I understand the culture. I speak half a dozen languages. So I involve in community work. So there are several yardsticks for the tertiary education institutes to measure what they want as capacity in the students. So more so in the hiring landscape. So we say that we are going towards seeking jobs. So when we seek jobs, see there are several professional entities now who are looking at skill sets relevant to the changes that are happening in their work environment. So I would go ahead and say that with the mark-driven landscape of the schools, so we have a very important task to measure these marks in terms of the skills that the children have carried through these years. So I'm sorry the universities are doing a great job, but for God's sake, you have 15 long years right from the time that the child is born. Now, even when the child is the mother is pregnant, you go ahead and book a seat in a school. So it is as bad as that. So from the age of about 2.5 to 3 to the age of 18, the child is with you. So the teachers have an enormous ask on their hands to try and figure out, say, a way to nurture them and to move them into responsible young adults. So I was married at 30. See, I had a child 2 years later. Somebody is married when he's 25, has a child when he's 26. Do you think that I'm, developmentally backward, or I have lost 5 years of, my life because I married late and had a child late? I mean, somebody is married at 25, has a child at 35, then what? So why are we so fixated on trying to look at achievements year after year after year? So I would say, sorry, we have done the worst thing that could have happened to the education landscape by making sure that everybody is pushed from one class level to another class level through this COVID years. So that's the saddest thing that could have happened. So even bad. So I go down to a national decision to scrap board examinations, but that's not the way forward. So when there is a UPSC, when there is a certain demand for somebody to conduct examination, TCS comes in, some other corporate comes in. So you have a lack of students writing it online. So the same thing can happen now. So you need platforms to assess and test the students on their capabilities, or you should have a very robust mechanism to do that. So all of these are good measures to transfer the skills for life. So we, unfortunately, when we are not doing it and we are harping about it, at the same time, sorry to use this word, we are huge, big hypocrites. So we have set standards, saying that at one end we need capabilities and capacity. On the other end, we say that, because of this poor condition of COVID, so everybody's measure is fair and everybody is measured at the same platform and everybody moves to the next level without even understanding whether they're capable of getting there, or do they have their skill sets to be there at a higher level of education. So now let us reflect as teachers. As see, I have failed miserably. I failed miserably this particular year. In order that I had good platforms to assess the children, in order that I engaged with families better, made sure that every single parent is as much a teacher as the teacher is a parent, make sure that there was a collective large environment where the single purpose was to make sure that the child builds these skill sets. So let us not talk about grades. Grades will invariably, they will happen. So there is no escape from grades. So it
I
will happen.
really hope, sir, these kind of thoughts, create a mind shift in all of us. And I want you to give me the one thing that all of us have to remember, not only in this situation, but for all the days and years to come.
So
we as teachers and educators, one thing that we all have to remember.
You see, so there is a client, there are stakeholders. So who's the client? So when we are looking at education, who's the client and who are the stakeholders? Now, the first thing is that I have to service the client. Okay, so if I feel that, every learner is a client, I am a client too. So the parent is a client too. So of course, the child is at the center of things. So I would say that, the one thing that needs to happen is constantly engage to unlearn and relearn constantly. And believe me, I am not infallible. So I make huge, big mistakes. When I do that, I would like to acknowledge that mistake in public. Okay, when I am wrong, I have to admit it in public. When I am right, I need to shut up and sit down. So this is what I would say to everyone.
Constant unlearning, and that's the way we learn again.
Some controversy again, because just I love that. So we are talking about the divide between the haves and the have-nots. So we never took this into the discussion at all. So do you think that technology becomes really, really relevant to the have-nots, especially those that are in remote villages and those that do not have access to what all of us have? So they're also pretty much a part of
Absolutely.
the capacity factor of our nation. And how are we going to contribute?
I think we are coming close to our session, very sadly, but I would like one final word from each of you to all our listeners. A lot of work on that, sir. to you, please. One final word for all listeners, which could really help us navigate not only for this year, but for the years to come.
Yeah, I think you have sort of constructed a uh, very crisp and contextual title for the entire discussion. But then see resistance versus resilience. You pointed out. I would say, see, even resistance now is a part of resilience. I would still say that, say, the ability to bounce back. So is something which is very important. And the only way we can do it is that make sure that you are chronically addicted to happiness. So I would say that see ensure that see you find little small joys in every single thing that you do. So that way you are at the top of say your personal space. And please make sure that the best way now is to connect uh, with love, unconditional, abundant love, not just to people, but to everything that is around, so that it bounces back so much of love to all of us. And I would say during these times, see, finding that inner peace and happiness is the key to move forward. Just not to teachers and principals, but to every other person. So it's just a part of so for some strange reason, the supreme power of God or whatever one would like to call it, so wanted all of us to experience all of this during our lifetime. So what does it teach us? So the teaching is what that needs to move us forward. So I would say, see, for us to bounce back, so it's the mantra is unconditional abundant love.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. The underlying, value which all of us have to learn. And thank you for those very emphatic words. Immensely to each of you, Dr. Bhavani Shankar, Arthi, Karthik, all of you. I am truly grateful from the bottom of my heart for this wonderful session. And at the end of it all, I just know that we have a choice to make. We choose to love everything around us, choose to love our kids, and choose to love ourselves because we have an immense responsibility towards our children. And for that, we have to love ourselves. And I'm extremely grateful to each of you for this. I have no words to define because it was very wonderful having you over. So many of us listening to you, and I'm sure many of us will reach out to you for any more, I will not call it assistance, but just reach out. So it's been wonderful having you all. Thank you very much. On behalf of all the educators here, I thank each of you immensely. Thank you. Dr. Anita Manuel, over to you, please. Thank you.